All right, I'm Max, and I'm joined here with my buddy Landon, also from the Honors College, and he's in a different cohort. But we're here to talk about Slow Productivity, the book, and just share our general thoughts and opinions and see where we can get. So, Landon, say hi and tell me what you thought about the book overall.
I really felt like the book was an intuitive way to look about just time as a concept because in today's day and age, we're so caught up in getting our schedule done, doing more things, and kind of just moving along instead of just taking what we are doing and I don't want to say optimizing it, but making it like a better version of itself that really achieve what we want as like a future goal. Just keeping things in mind rather than just going through the motions and getting things out of the way.
Yeah, I think a lot of the work like force, like I mean, I've done some like actual like real world experience kind of stuff like that in my own like business and all that. But a lot of times people will just try to get as much done as possible, and there's like no like clear end sight in mind. I feel like the book talks a lot about how like work could be optimized. Like it's at the end of the day, like it's all about how work can be optimized, and work is something that's like completely unavoidable. But I feel like that mindset like is a little skewed, I guess, like a criticism of the book, because I feel like so much of this is about living to work. Like my professor even made a comment about it. He said, like your work like becomes you, and like what you produce is like who you are, is like your identity. Like you identify with what work you do. And I feel like that's kind of a, I don't know, like a archaic way of thinking of things. Like I know a lot of like people in like Buddhism and Taoism like really don't value that. Like I don't know. I think maybe we should consider working to live rather than living to work. But
I could agree with that. Like it's just a modern worldview to be honest, because we're so caught up in just what we do every day and producing just the product that's demanded of us for work and kind of not actually valuing what we're creating as much as getting what we need to have for just a salary. And overall, I do agree with what you're saying as like we're not tailoring what we're doing to actually better ourselves. Like it's what was the way you phrased it, how you were saying we don't please reiterate what you were saying.
like we live to work instead of work to live.
Yeah. As much as I agree with that, I feel like we do work to live because that's just the way society is kind of evolved over time. But I feel like a lot of the book, it's serving to kind of give like a basis for knowledge work as a whole and how we can better attempt to address the problem to optimize the work we're churning out. But I really feel like it's kind of like a guide of a way to just implement not all of the things that Newport discusses, but at least try and help give somewhat of a broad suggestion to what we could be doing better. Like just going off of like the ideas that Newport was discussing, like for the majority of it, like do fewer things. As somebody who's well a student right now, I can't really do fewer things because some it's required of me, and I can't toss off some of the things and only do some of the classes work. And I try to apply this the best that I can instead of on certain days like not doing any work and then just compiling it and procrastinating until like the day before it's due. The way I interpreted at least some of this is not to waste my day and waste because the structure of my day is as a college student, it's not as firm as high school, but we're still given the exact same hours of the day and just overall we're if you aren't directly doing all the work, like if I were to procrastinate and do it all in one day, I still have all of the I had all of the time that I would could have had to do these projects and to do this work. But instead I procrastinated and I filled it with other activities that felt productive or may have been to sort of escape doing the work, but all in all, it still was activity. It was.
That like also speaks to like the overhead tax that he talked about in the book too.
Sure.
But I really liked how you compared it to high school because I think like the K through 12 world is like so structured and you're always told like what to do, when to do it. And like once you leave college, like it's been like kind of a shock, like especially for me that like there is no like written plan of what you should be doing. Like you just do whatever you want. Like if you don't want to go to school, you don't have to go to school. Like, you can survive and do whatever you want. And I think that like says a lot about like who you are as a person, like when you find like how you can manage your tasks that have to get done. Like you can't just do fewer things. Like
That's unrealistic.
yeah, but the way he writes about it in the book, it makes sense. Like I'd rather have a more like quality work than a lot of it.
Mhm.
So like if I'm like studying or whatever, then it'd be better to do like more accurate problems than like a bunch of really bad ones. But yeah, I really think that like if we can optimize like how we do our jobs that have to get done, like it's a great start. Like I loved the book. I loved how he brought up like real issues and gave like thought out solutions to them. And something that I haven't really heard anyone mention that I've been thinking about recently, like I've done a lot of reading on this, the way that we like speak about all of these things and what like society values about things. Like I mean, the book is called Productivity, like slow productivity. Because at the end of the day, you're only valuable when you're making a product. And like even like a super like well-known insult is like degenerate. It's like the opposite of making a product. It's like some of the verbiage that we use to describe this is that's quite interesting to me.
No, it definitely is. Just the thought of productivity itself, we think of such like a manual labor type of material product rather than what the book is actually meant to do and kind of deterred just at least its readers from anticipating the thought of productivity and getting work done as not as much a physical reward, but you have to convince yourself that while you might not be making the same physical progress or churning out as many papers, you're still just making just as much progress, if not more, by producing a quality product and instead spending your time wisely to do fewer things.
Yeah, that's like also like that study that he showed with how no, it wasn't a study, it was a survey of how nobody answered like the definition of productivity exactly. Like nobody has like a concrete definition of it. And like that pseudo productivity of like looking like you're working versus like actually working like that taking 3 years to write a paper rather than putting out a paper every year that's not as good. Like, that'll get you a lot farther, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And kind of going off of what you were saying before, like once you're out of like high school and you're not forced to go to school anymore, it it's kind of funny to me that you were saying that because it kind of reminded me of the fact that everybody does have their own definition of productivity because once you're out of the strict school-based like deadlines of turn in this amount of products, you get this grade, you do this much work in gym class, you get this grade. Once you're outside of that, the definition kind of changes for each person, and not everybody has the same definition of productivity or whatever career, just pathway, life choices they make. Each person sees productivity as something completely different, and kind of I don't think justifies it for each person, but the way the book goes about it, kind of re-elaborates what we should be focused on rather than what we've been given as a definition of productivity.
Yeah, and building off of what you said about the grades, I think people really use grades and their salary to like quantify their value as a person, which I think is kind of a yeah, one thing. Like people, like the first thing someone asks like about like what you do for work, it's like what's your salary? How much are you making? Like I don't know, like some people aren't like the best with their money. Like people are in debt, like people are struggling even with great salaries, and it's just how you want to live. Like if you want to like go live in a van, like have like no expenses, but you're like sitting on like a couple million in the bank, good for you. But like a lot of like these knowledge workers, like especially in today's world, are living through like paycheck to paycheck and like not being smart with their money and not like I feel like there's not a lot of like talk about it. I feel like it's kind of like a taboo topic almost to like really get into your finances with
Yeah.
people.
Nobody really wants to hear about that kind of thing. And at least in my class, we kind of discussed, I think it was some sort of Harvard professor who, after I forget how much of a tenure, but he decided to up and leave as a member of the college and just decided to become a Colorado ski teacher because while it wasn't as financially rewarding, it felt more productive to him because he felt like he was actually making a difference and having fun with it rather than going through papers and discussions and everything because there was more value within himself than productivity.
I've seen something like very similar to that. There was this MIT graduated neurosurgeon, and he had like some ethical concerns with like, the medical industry because like he would perform the same exact surgery on three different people. One person would get better, one person would stay the same, and one person would get worse. It's the same exact surgery done perfectly three times. And he found that like the people that needed these like spine surgeries, the ones that got better were the ones that were eating right, the ones that were sleeping right. You can't make money off of that. Like as like
Mhm.
in like the like in the medical industry, like, you need to like cut to make money. So he found it like unethical and he like decided to just quit his job and like take a break and live in the mountains with his wife and dog. And he's a lot happier now. That's a great thing you should look into.
I will. Because it definitely is interesting the way we personally evaluate productivity and the fact that even after three perfectly executed, like you said, the kid had gone through school.
We're in the dark, eh? Let me turn the light back on.
Okay. Oh, well, that's very good. Where was I going with that? Yeah, the kid had gone through school and excellent school and gained experience, done the surgeries perfectly, and yet he still didn't feel the same productivity. Like he was doing the surgeries correctly, and yet he didn't feel the reward he would have if he had done some other job same way, just been rewarded differently.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. Like your fulfillment in your life, it makes you happy.
Well, Newport really addressed that in the book. Like, if you implement what you enjoy into whatever you're doing, say like a project or something, you implement like your favorite topic into it, or like a subject or something, you feel more rewarded when you're doing this because of the fact that more you're more fulfilled. Like you don't feel like you're just churning out useless product. Like you feel like you're actually making a difference.
It's all about that balance, I think.
Definitely.
It's a great way to wrap it up too.
All right, yeah.
So thank you guys so much for watching and see you guys around.